Good morning, Achoja Warriors. It's Dre. Always thankful for our time together. I was among those who were, going through their daily routine, and then you look on the news and you see that Kobe Bryant had passed. And Kobe was someone that I often watched a lot of his videos when he talked about just mindset, and I always appreciated the how raw he was, just how real he was. And it always was something that motivated me to share more of myself, right? Like Kobe, the person that he was, like the out of all the stuff on the court, the big thing to me was always the fact that he just never really cared what other people said about him, right? Like he knew exactly what he needed to do, and he knew that he would live this life that he'd have no regrets, that he would be able to say, I left it all on the court, I was able to do my thing. And that was always something that I took from him, right? That whatever it took to win. Like there's a quote where he talks about, if that's me handing water cups out, if that's me waving towels and cheering people on, he's like, that's not an issue for me. Like Kobe was always about winning. And then on the other end of that, what he demanded of other people, right? If there was times where they're like, if you just chill, you'll be able to keep like Shaq and like Howard and different things. But Kobe knew what it took to win, right? Like there's often you joke, right? Like you're 7-1, right? So that means that basketball is a little easier for you, right? Like you're brilliant, you're great, you're amazing, but that means that you don't have to necessarily do as much, right? Like I think each of us would kind of go through things and we would say, I could have done better, I could have done more, I could have done this, and even though Kobe said that, nobody believed him, right? We all knew that he was taking 1,000 shots a day, that he was doing his thing. And so I did on this, just overall this Mindset Monday, I did want to just talk about some of his strengths as a person, right? Like there was a quote where I read, and Kobe said, he's like, look, I have self-doubt, I have insecurities, I have fear of failure. He was like, look, there's days that I go to the court and my back hurts and my knees hurt and I just want to chill and have a day off. He's like, we all have these self-doubts. We all have that fear of failure. And he's like, so it's not a question of pretending that it doesn't exist, because it does. But he says that you're also not going to capitulate to it. You're not going to just give in to it and listen to that voice that is telling you to do things that is contradictory to the goals that you're trying to achieve in life. And Kobe's solution for that is to embrace it. To embrace the fact that you have self-doubts, to embrace the fact that you have fear of failure, just overall to embrace that. Like, yeah, I don't think I got it today, but I'm going to go ahead and keep shooting until I do get it. Then I'm either going to catch it or I'm going to fail spectacularly. He's like, but I embrace that, because often what we do is we're saying, look, I don't feel my best today, so that means I need to take the day off, right? And that's not what that means. I don't feel my best today, so what that means is I may have to put in twice the work, because that's what it means to embrace the self-doubts and the fears of failures and the insecurities. To embrace it is to say, I will do whatever it takes to overcome it. That is not that it doesn't exist, right? If I feel like I have an insecurity or a self-doubt, it's probably based on, if you give yourself the benefit, you're going to assume that it's based on the fact that you are not prepared enough. So what do you do to get rid of it? Well, then you prepare 3 times as long as necessary. You really put the work into where you feel so confident that now you're ready to say, you know what? I put my best effort in. Whatever happens after that is exactly that. It's whatever happens after that. Because I can't allow my fear of failure to keep me from even attempting to chase happiness, attempting to catch greatness, right? Like the idea that we continually are looking for reassurances for other people, where we see this perception of our politicians where they are polling people and they say whatever polls well. And they may go and do different things once they're elected, but they will say whatever you want to hear. Whereas as a society, we have created that environment where people are going to tell you what you want to hear in hopes that it will help you to like them enough so that you're able to advance. And that has to do with a lack of confidence in your own strength and your own pursuit, right? Like the idea that the only way I'm going to exceed is if the people above me like me, right? That's a position of weakness. That is saying that there is nothing that I can do to overcome this. And there may be instances in your life where where that may be true, but then the question becomes, do I want to continue to work in this environment? Do I want to continue hanging out with these people if the truth is that I have to do whatever they want of me for them to like me, that they technically don't like me for me? Right? Like, think about that for a second. You are creating a scenario where you are surrounded by people who don't like you for you because you believe that that is the only way for you to excel and succeed. And while it may be the only way for you to succeed in that particular environment, it's not the only way for you to succeed. You're always faced with two choices, right? Like I had a client, we were having a discussion, and he was talking about how he was faced with a very difficult choice between pursuing the flexibility in his work schedule that allowed him to create the company that he desired, where he was chasing his happiness, that voice inside of him, that drumbeat. Then he also had the choice of taking the money now, where the work that was required of him, it may be more, it may take more of his time, and it may make the company suffer, but he's going to get paid a lot more to do that. So he could either keep the job that he had where he had some flexibility, which allowed him to work on his company, or he can take this the two birds in the hand, right? So he ended up choosing, well, I'm going to go ahead and continue focusing on the company I'm building on the side, because that is the goal that I'm striving for, right? I'm not really looking to sell my chasing of happiness, that inner drumbeat. Like, I'm not looking to sell that. And that's really what the question was to him. It was a question of, am I going to sell my passion project for some money today? And the interesting thing that happened with him was, after he told them no, and then they understood why, they actually said, look, we'll work with you on the time. Like, there may be times that you have to stretch out and work a little bit longer, but we're going to value your time. We're going to protect your time. And so now he was in an environment where he was like, okay, I will take that position, right? Because he's basically put out who he was, and he allowed them to say whether that was worth the compromise on their end and setting the real expectations. Now, how many of us would have made that choice? See, many of us would have never even had the opportunity to realize that the environment was the right environment. We just had to tell them what our expectations were. But instead, we keep them to ourselves, and we're like, oh, I loathe this job. They don't get me. They don't do nothing. Well, sometimes they don't get you because you're not telling anything about yourself. You're just saying yes to everything, and then when you leave, you talk about how you really feel. Because you're like, well, they have to like me. Well, I get it. There's politics in companies, and there's politics in a lot of places. But what I am saying is, you will find that if you let people know the truth and allow the chips to kind of fall where they may, then you have all the information you need to now make an informed decision, whether this is a good fit for me long term. And Kobe, he lived that every single day, where he was like, look, this is who I am. This is what I expect. And sometimes it meant that the coach had to change. Sometimes it meant that the players had to change. Sometimes it meant that the management had to change. But Kobe let everybody know, this is what I'm trying to do. And if you are on board with that, great. If you're not on board with that, this isn't going to work for long. And I don't care who you are, which is a powerful statement. And there was even a point in time where he was letting everybody know what he expected. And then he was like, look, I'm just going to leave the Laker organization because my desire to win and the expectations that I have laid out, they're not meeting them. And I was like, oh my goodness. I remember that. I was like, dang, can you do that? Like, where are you going to go? And long story short, the whole organization ended up saying, you know what? Our bad, right? Like, let's get on the same page. We didn't know. Let's work this out. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. There are plenty of people who are superstars in a certain part of their career, and they end up having to leave later in their career because of the expectations, right? Like, Tom Brady is a classic example of that. It seems very possible that he may not be a Patriot when the next season or the one after that, because he's let everybody know, look, I'm not interested in retiring, right? I'm enjoying this game. I'm doing my thing. And then the team was like, well, we would like to start building for post, your existence in this organization. And he's like, well, that day is not today. And so the organization then has to make a certain decision. But see, Tom let him know. He's like, look, I'm not going anywhere if it's with you or if it's with someone else, right? Brett Favre had that. Steve Young had that. Emmett Smith had that, right? Like, there is lots of examples of people. I mean, even Peyton Manning, right? There's lots of examples where people are like, this is the expectation I have, And the organization is like, look, you've done a lot of great things for us in the past, but we're going to go in a different direction. We think your best days are behind you. And they didn't allow that to mess with them, right? It's business at the end of the day. But a lot of us were trying to make it personal. We're, oh, the management doesn't like me, they don't get me, it's the politics, and it may be. I'm not telling you that it doesn't exist, but what I am telling you is you have to let people know where you stand, and then that allows them to let you know where they stand. And if that means you have to go different directions, go different directions. You can still be the best and understand that you know that what's inside of you and your ability to create in this world still is at a high level. And if they don't see that, then why would you want to stay? And see, that was always what I took when Kobe said you have to embrace the fact that you have self-doubt. You have to embrace the fact that you have fear of failures, that you have insecurities, because there's no doubt that there is definitely a question in all of those examples where they're like, they may not be okay with what I'm about to say. This may fracture the relationship beyond repair. This may change my whole family's life, right? We've grown up in LA and we've lived here, and now we may be having to up and move, right? It changes so much. But Kobe says, don't capitulate to it, don't give in to it. He's like, embrace it. Thrive in it. Like a pig, wallow in mud in it, right? Because whatever happens after that, you have to be okay just with the fact that you know that you put yourself out there, and I promise you, you'll find more often than not that there is someone who sees your vision the way it is and they want to help you create it. And if you only focus on the fact that where you are at, they don't see or appreciate your vision, well, then your vision will never become reality. It'll just be a dream then. And that's going to be a mindset moment. I'm always thankful for our time together. Thank you for your comments, for sharing, for liking. Please subscribe, and let's keep building this Choja lifestyle in 2020 by rising to the challenge. Until next time, better self, better wealth.